Howdy everyone, it's Sam. Hope you're doing really well. If you're new around here, hope I can get you to consider liking the content, then subscribing to the channel. And if you are a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for your continuing support. We're about halfway through my Overlook series of all the clubs' draws for 2023 in the National Rugby League. It's time to check out what the West Tigers 2023 season holds. West's 2023 season starts with back-to-back home games at Leichhardt Oval. Game number one is against the Gold Coast Titans, Sunday twilight. It's basically third last versus wooden spooners basically from 2022. Something that was very similar to start this year with the Cowboys and Bulldogs, or last year I should say. The Titans, I think they've won a couple of games at Leichhardt in their history as well. Both these sides are going to be amped up. They'll want to start very, very hot for 2023. So in particularly, in my opinion, West Tigers. So that should actually be quite a fascinating watch. Back it up to 1 week later, same day on a Sunday, but this one is on a Channel 9 free to air, and it's the West Tigers hosting the Newcastle Knights from Leichhardt Oval. The Newcastle Knights, I think they won there in 2020, and I think they've played a couple of bangers actually against one another over the past 4 years or so, the Tigers and the Knights. So again, a close contest. Both these sides finished in the bottom four last year, so both these sides will be wanting to start red hot. And then the last portion for section one of their campaign, 3 back-to-back away games. So they start the season with 2 home games straight up, and then they finish their first section with 3 straight away games. And the first of that trilogy is out to Belmore Sports Ground for a Channel 9 Sunday game. Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs versus the West Tigers. The Tigers, don't remember the last time they played there, but I don't think it's been within inside a decade, to be honest with you. I might be wrong, but I've got to do all that study up a little bit later on in the next couple of weeks, because the season really is starting to approach very, very quickly. Round number 4 sees them take a trip down to Amy Park to take on the Melbourne Storm on a Friday night 6 p.m. game. They have won a game or two recently down in Amy Park, and maybe this could be one of them early round upsets as well. But you know, you with all due respect, you wouldn't hold your breath. Then 1 week later, in round 5, to wrap up their first section of 2023, they then zip up to Suncorp Stadium to take on the Brisbane Broncos on a Saturday night, Saturday 7:30 p.m. or 6:30 here in Queensland. And the Tigers, they've won 2 games in a row at Suncorp Stadium. They don't play badly when they play at Suncorp at all. They did lose to the Cowboys last year, but they put in one of their better efforts to start that year. So anything could happen in that game, honestly. And I'm looking at it and I feel like they are a genuine chance in 4 of those 5 games. That game down in Melbourne, yeah, sure, they can cause an upset. They have done a couple of times, but that was about 3+ years ago or thereabouts. That it's not, I don't think that's a difficult start to their season, in particular because they do have back-to-back home games against opposition that they very much will start favourites against, in my opinion. But Belmore, Canterbury at Belmore, Melbourne in Melbourne, and Brisbane in Brisbane, that then evens it out definitely. But if they can go 2-3 in the first 5 rounds, no matter which way it happens, they'll take that. I think the West Tigers and their fans will take that, but obviously they want to start 5-0. Section 2 of 2023 starts with the annual traditional Easter Monday game, and this one is taking place out at Accor Stadium against the Parramatta Eels. So Monday, 4 p.m. This has become a prime time blockbuster fixture, in particularly over the past few seasons, where it's just gotten bigger and bigger. And after what they did, these two sides last year on Easter Monday, where the Tigers winning by the 1 point, yeah, this has become one of the great fixtures on the National Rugby League calendar against the Parramatta Eels. Yeah, this should be a really good game, and they'll put everything into it because the week after, in round 7, they have their first of 3 buys for 2023. And then in round 8, they return to be the home side, and this time they are going to be fighting the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles out at Campbelltown Sports Stadium for the first time in 2023, and this one is a Channel 9 Sunday game. Round number 9, they continue to venture out a little bit west, out to Carrington Park in Bathurst. This is going to be a unique trip for the club. I think it's their first ever trip to Bathurst, and they take on the premiers, the Penrith Panthers, and this one is a Saturday 7:30 p.m. game. Then finally, to round out their Section 2, they are the home side. They are hosting the St. George Illawarra Dragons for Magic Round, and they are the first match of Sunday. So that's kicking off at approximately 1 p.m. on Sunday. And they nearly got the Dragons last year, the Tigers. So that's a match that they can win. And just overall, looking at Section 2, they do have a blockbuster against the Parramatta Eels. Manly and Dragons are those two games that you could say that they can win. And then against the Penrith Panthers, I mean, they've got to just about play their best game of the season. And that game also is going to be the return of Api Coruscant and Charlie Staines in a roundabout way, considering it's not out at Bluebet Stadium. So Section 2, while they've got Panthers, and yeah, they've got the Easter Monday clash against Parramatta, that's not too bad. 1 week later, on Saturday at 3 p.m. out at Accor Stadium, South Sydney Rabbitohs versus the West Tigers takes place, and that is what kicks off Section 3 for their season, the West Tigers. 1 week later, same day on Saturday, oh man, they might have an ambush ready for the North Queensland Cowboys. The Cowboys are travelling to Leichhardt Oval to fight them on a Saturday 5:30 p.m. slot. After what happened to these two sides last year, in particularly the second game, oh man, I feel like there's going to be an ambush coming. And again, they'll probably put everything into it because when they do take on the Cowboys the week after in round 13, that's when they have their second bye. Oh man, you can see it now. They're going to absolutely go hell for leather in that game against the Cowboys, and then they'll go on their second bye for the year. And then their first game back, well, their game back after their second bye is a home game out at Campbelltown against the Canberra Raiders. And that is a Friday night Channel 9 game as well. So Tigers and Raiders getting a prime time slot, which is nice to see. Then to finish off Section 3, they are away to the Gold Coast Titans. They travel up to Cbus Super Stadium to take them on a Thursday night. Please, if you're hearing me, footy gods, don't let it be. Don't let anything ever be as bad as what the Titans and Tigers were in 2022 for that Thursday night game. You can't do it again to us, fair dinkum. Round 16 marks the beginning of Section 4 for their year, the West Tigers, and that is going to be on a Saturday night where they host the Melbourne Storm from Campbelltown Sports Stadium. And then the week after, they have their third and final bye. And just off the top of my head, I think that makes them the team that completes all 3 of their byes earliest. Or that's just off the top of my head. Don't quote me on that. But I think the West Tigers will be one of those early sides that have to have a longer run to the finals. So after their bye, they travel up to North Queensland to take on the Cowboys, and that's going to be a Saturday twilight fixture. So vengeance again will be on their mind, and that rematch will be a very much hot topic in the media. Then follow that up, they have a home game against the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks at CommBank Stadium, a Thursday night fixture. And just quietly, the Tigers got the wooden spoon, and I know that Channel 9 really do not mind the West Tigers at all, but To be the wooden spooners and to have as many Channel 9 free-to-air fixtures as you do, you probably don't have the right. But anyway, Tigers and Sharks to take place on a Thursday night. And then in round number 20, they are then away to the Newcastle Knights. And that's at McDonald Jones Stadium. And once more, it's a Sunday Channel 9 free to air game as well. And that will be the second match that Jackson Hastings takes on the West Tigers. And that's probably something I should have mentioned before, that in round 2, Jackson Hastings goes back to Tigerland and he'll take on the West Tigers in the red and blue colours of the Newcastle Knights. So to summarise what's going down for them in Section 4 of their campaign, they have the Storm, the Cowboys, the Sharks, and the Knights, and a bye. Besides Newcastle, who traditionally, or at least in my opinion and off the top of the dome, Knights and Tigers games have usually been close, they do take on Storm, Cowboys, and Sharks inside that period. And it's also going to be the time where Origin is about, maybe Api Coruscant will be out, and it's the time where fatigue will start to switch on too. So that will be a harder, rocky road for the West Tigers. So let's say that the West Tigers are sitting in ninth in round 21. What does their run to the finals look like? Well, round 21 through to 27, we know that they do not have a bye to rely on if they need 2 competition points straight up. So round 21, they travel down to Wynn Stadium for a Thursday Channel 9 game, St. George Illawarra Dragons versus the West Tigers down there in Wollongong on a Thursday. Then they have 8 days rest, or yes, 8 days rest, and they take on the South Sydney Rabbitohs from Scully Park in Tamworth. So you imagine with the Rabbitohs, I think that's their first trip to Tamworth. The place would be absolutely crawling. It's going to be chock-a-block no matter what the positions on the ladder is going to look like by that time. Round 22 rolls about. Round 23, they then travel down to Canberra Stadium to take on the Canberra Raiders, and that, again, a Sunday Channel 9 game. Round 24, they take, and massive credit, absolutely massive credit to the West Tigers. They are the only side to have given up a home game to the New Zealand Warriors, and the West Tigers are taking a home game to New Zealand's FMG Stadium out at Waikato, Hamilton, and that is Saturday 5:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So absolute kudos, absolute legends for doing that for the New Zealand Warriors. You're the only club that's done that, and I think you should absolutely be praised whenever the opportunity arises to be praised. And then they're back in Australia at CommBank Stadium. They take on the Redcliffe Dolphins for the first time ever in round number 25, and that's a Saturday 3 p.m. game. I think that'll be a really cool game. I think that'll be a decent game to watch. Then their final 2 games, they are away from home. So that CommBank Stadium game against the Dolphins is their final game of the season. Leichhardt Oval was done much earlier, same too with Campbelltown. So their final 2 games, they are not easy. They take on the Sydney Roosters on a Saturday 5:30 game out there at Allianz Stadium. West Tigers' first ever game at Allianz Stadium. And then to round out the season in round 27, Friday 6 p.m, Manly versus West Tigers from 4 Pines Park. I could think of a few other combinations that would be a lot more easier than travelling to eastern suburbs and Manly Warringah. So in a nutshell, their run to the finals, the West Tigers, they've got Dragons, Souths, Canberra, Warriors, Dolphins, Roosters, and Manly. Tigers did cop the wooden spoon, but they have improved with Api Coruscant, Charlie Staines, Isaiah Papali'i, David Clemmer, John Bateman as well. So you'd say that you might give them 50% of those contests. I mean, maybe the Redcliffe Dolphins, the game against the Dragons down in Wollongong, but you've got the Rabbitohs at home. In Tamworth, and then you've got the Raiders down in Canberra the Roosters away and the Sea Eagles away too. I'm not saying that they're not going to win any games. I think they can win at least 3 of those final 6 or 7 games in the run towards the finals. But if they are on 8th or 9th, sitting just outside of the top 8, and they need to win more games than not to get into the top 8, things get difficult. Things get really, really spicy. I think they'd be relying very much upon other teams to crack the 8. That is not the toughest draw, in my opinion. They only take on the Panthers the one time. They do take on Melbourne Storm twice and the Cowboys twice. And it was a stat that I think Fergo and the Freak mentioned, and shout out to those two gentlemen. Please go and check out their podcast on YouTube, Fergo and the Freak. I think it's something like the West Tigers have more home games than anybody else in history, with 5, and that's at CommBank, Accor, New Zealand, Scully Park and Tamworth, and then Campbelltown and Leichhardt and the rest of it. So yeah, they're traveling quite a fair bit too. So it's not the easiest. I don't think it's the hardest. I think their draw is sitting somewhere in the middle there. Yeah, with 3 away games as well from rounds 3 till 5, they really do need to win those first 2 games to keep their head above water, because if they even drop one of them and go, for example, 1-4 after 5 rounds, oh man, it could end up being another long season for the West Tigers. But I do think they'll improve based off of their wooden spoon year in 2022. What do you reckon is going to happen for the West Tigers this season? Please leave a comment down below. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're new around here. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Adios.